And next we have Santiago Martinez Balvanera, who's going to be talking to us about how Bat Conservation Trust is integrating annotation workflows into their processes. So I will pass it over to you, Santiago, to tell us more about that.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation to talk here. Just gonna talk very briefly and more conceptually about this idea of integrating annotations into the work we do at the Bat Conservation Trust, which is bat conservation. So the Bat Conservation Trust, for those who don't know, is a charity based in the UK whose main role is to acquire information about bat population trends in order to inform policy decision and as well as development within the UK. And it's done this so far with the help of many very helpful and willing volunteers and also professionals collecting data for 30 or plus years. And as you can see, it's been quite extensive, but and with that, you can get some really interesting data or information about the population trends of bats at very different temporal and spatial resolution levels. So this information feeds into the UK statistics and is helpful for, as I mentioned, just planning of development and also conservation actions. The thing is, because most of the work is very involved, hands-on, the BCT is currently looking into scaling efforts and maybe filling out some of the current data gaps that it has by adopting acoustics. And in collaboration with people at UCL and the University of Edinburgh, we've developed BatDetect2, which is a machine learning algorithm that's able to detect these echolocation calls in recordings, ultrasonic recordings. So the thing is, our question at this moment is we're very keen on the idea of using machine learning as kind of a main ingredient within the data collection process, but we're kind of in this stage where we kind of have a handle of what the data collection aspect is. So we send out recordings to people or just do a grade, or there are many different survey methods where the BCT is using. But what we want to get out of this is this trustworthy population trend data. And I'm going to put it into kind of this industrial setting, what would the BCT need to do if we wanted to make sure that this population trend data is kind of very quality assured, let's say ISO certified. So what does it require for the BCT in terms of operation to make sure that this population trend data is verified or high quality? So there are a couple of actions that we have thought about what we need to do in order to improve the trustworthiness of the data that we produce. So first of all, of course, is improving the models that we already have. So incrementally improving them, which means expanding the training data. Second of all, a really important aspect of making sure that our population trend data based from this acoustic information is actually precise is doing a thorough evaluation of the performance of these models. But not only that, but also monitoring throughout time, because you never know what kind of sounds might appear in the future that might be confusing the models eventually. We both don't want to confuse that changes in the environment with actual changes in population trends of bats. And also another big aspect of BCT work currently is that there's a lot of work that goes into validating the predictions. So not necessarily assessing the performance of models, but actually looking into individual predictions with an expert together to see whether the bat is actually there. And that's kind of a bit more hard ground truth data. So the answer to all of this is actually just put humans at the core of all of these activities. Of course, you have these companions, which are AIs that help to do a lot of the work and carry a lot of the kind of heavy work. But still, humans and particular experts in bats, of which there are fortunately quite a few here in the UK, at the core. But now the question is, okay, so how do you do this in a way that's efficiently operation-wise and that makes best use of the expert's time? So that's where we have this idea that we actually want to have this really easy to use and effective tool for interacting with the AI tools that are behind all these processing work. So the expert have this easy way of just providing the right information for those systems to work and to achieve certain quality. So this is the goal that we're working on at the moment. This is a platform that is kind of in initial design stages called EchoHub. So that would be kind of the human interface to all of these machine learning systems behind the work at BCT. So as we envision it now, this will help us interact in the ways I've just mentioned before, which is like validating, gathering new training data, measuring the performance of models. And in my PhD, I worked in this open source tool called Whombat, which is an annotation tool with the idea of making it really easy for users to annotate their data and then export that for model training and development. So we're currently looking into how can we use Whombat, which is an open source project, first of all, to kind of bootstrap much of the EchoHub development, so that be kind of a big part of the interface, but also thinking, okay, so what are commonalities of the BCT work that might inform Whombat development in the future so that others who use Whombat as an open source project can also benefit from our work. So yeah, this is what we're doing. We're at the moment kind of very early stages, just mapping out what the BCT requires for some platform like this to do. So we're identifying these BCT specific challenges, but also like broader shared issues with the idea of feeding that back into Whombat. And then once we have that really clear in our heads, we can go ahead and plan the development of EchoHub and also future Whombat development. So if you do have kind of similar experience building systems who have these data quality or more than data, prediction quality assurance and control, I'd be really, really keen on listening to your experience, but also just please reach out if you are thinking about similar things or have similar challenges at your own organization. How can we make acoustic data based on machine learning systems kind of high quality outputs? So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Yeah, open to questions.
Thank you so much for that talk. We have a question in the chat from Mandy, where she's asking if you've identified any risks or potential risks with using Whombat, and how the open source model might affect the quality of I guess data analysis over time.
So open source projects are always a bit risky in the sense that there's no let's say incentive to like respond to the issues that arise from the use of it, and it also is kind of very constrained in terms of like the resources it has to sustain itself. So at this time, Whombat is basically just me doing the most of the development, and actually because I have so many things to do with other stuff, I cannot dedicate enough time to developing it. But we are looking into different kind of funding routes so that we can sustain a bit more of my time working on Whombat. And our kind of more midterm goal is to have other organizations interested in the use of Whombat, so that we have a larger group of people working and interested in developing that tool into a more kind of mature and robust tool.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. There are some more questions in the chat, and I'm going to direct you over there to address those. But thanks so much for that talk, Santiago.